The Podfix Network.
Hello and welcome. This is episode 184 of the Filmmakers Podcast, sponsored this week by those crafty people at Screencraft. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up, in our very, very humble opinion. Today we are talking to the fantastic Caroline Goodall. Not only is she an actress, not only is she a producer, but she is also a screenwriter of the fantastic film which is out now, literally today, called Bay of Silence. It is amazing. The film stars Claes Bang, Olga Kurylenko and Brian Cox. And myself and Robbie McCain sat down and had a brilliant chat with Caroline. Even though she was in Croatia, even though she was in a hotel room with really terrible internet, we still managed to do it. Not only that, but she had a COVID test in the middle of our recording. We wanted her to do it live, which she did, but unfortunately she had to go out of the room to do it. But that would have been fascinating. For us, more than you, because you'd have just heard, sniffing and stuff. But for us, we'd have seen what happened on a movie, because she's on a movie right now. But anyway, we're here to talk about the Bay of Silence and the episode with Caroline Goodall, who goes into so much detail about how she made, basically, her debut screenwriting and producing movie. Now, Caroline has been acting for many, many years. And you'll know her from movies such as Hook, Schindler's List, Cliffhanger, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, which is coming out soon, and Hunter Killer, just to name a few of her amazing credits. But here, she's producer and screenwriter, as well as being in the movie. Bay of Silence was directed by Paula van der Oost. She talks to you and us how she adapted Bay of Silence from a novel, how she managed to get the cast of Claes Bang, Olga Kurylenko and Brian Cox on board, how she got Signature distributing the movie. She also talks about working in COVID and how that's affected movie making. She talks about getting advice from Maggie Smith and some amazing influences in her life. From one, Robin Williams, and she goes into detail about her audition with Robin Williams, and a certain Mr. Steven Spielberg. Not only did she get directed by Steve in Hook, but also Schindler's List, the Oscar-winning masterpiece, but also working with Ridley Scott as well. And this, I feel, is important, and any takeaways you can get from this today are all about how Caroline made Bay of Silence. And one of those things was understanding the business side of it, understanding how investors want to be talked to, understanding how you can actually raise that money. How she got those investors on board is a great part of this podcast this week. Oh yeah, this is our episode with Caroline Goodall. It's brilliant. It's coming up very soon, because first of all, I do have to tell you, and you probably know this already, and I'm smiling inside because it is 1 week away from The Dare being released in the UK. Ooh, baby. Now you could say, Giles, so what? You've banged on about this enough. No one cares. I care. I am delighted to just get it out. It's 4 years. It's this whole podcast of talking about this movie. It's finally out in the UK. Obviously, if you're in USA and Canada and Holland and Hong Kong and so many other places, you can already watch the movie, should you wish. But from Monday, next week, the 5th of October, all the people in the UK, friends of mine I've been banging on about for ages, can go watch The Dare. Excellent. So that is that. The Dare is out next week. Excellent. Oh, and what I'm going to do for you lovely, lovely people, is do a podcast special next Tuesday. I'm going to get in some of the cast and crew from The Dare to kind of do what we did with King Arthur. But obviously, because it's 4 years ago for some of them, they've got to try and rack their brains and try and remember what happened on the movie. So I'm going to bring some of the cast and crew in on that. So that is next week's episode, The Dare special. But before then, as a treat for you, because this episode today is with Caroline Goodall talking about Bay of Silence, of course, right? One of the stars of that movie also had a chat to us. Oh yeah, that's right. Claes Bang, ladies and gentlemen. Bang! Shillet Bang! No, Claes Bang, legend himself, brilliant actor, the lead in Dracula on BBC recently, the lead in the last season of The Affair, amazing guy, and he sat down and chatted to me and Robbie as well. But there was so much to put into one episode, I thought, why not split them up into two? So it's Caroline today, and then it's Claes Bang, legend himself, talking about Bay of Silence on Friday. Double whammy for you this week. And I'm too excited. I've just had a coffee. I'm very excited. So this week's episode is sponsored by Screencraft. And obviously we're talking on this episode with Caroline Goodall about adapting a novel into a screenplay. Well, this week the promotion from Screencraft is Cinematic Book Writing Competition. So is your book, is your novel, is it ready for the big screen? Does your novel have cinematic potential? Well, if so, Screencraft want to read it. That is right, they have their Screencraft Cinematic Book Writing Competition, and they're looking for published and unpublished manuscript submissions, and that's important there. I said unpublished manuscript submissions that are ready for cinematic adaptation, including novels, novellas, true stories, and biographies. So whatever you've got, if you've got one of those, send it to Screencraft. They want to know. Because the grand prize winner will receive 1,000 cash prize and a personal introduction to top literary managers. So top quarterfinals will also have their projects shared with a special mention at screencraft.org. Their stacked panel, by the way, of industry judges includes literary agents, managers, screenwriters and editors who are looking for the next great story with the potential to be adapted to the screen. Could that be you? You listening, you. Is that you? Submissions are open now. Take advantage of the early deadline discount. But hurry, that discount ends on September the 30th, which is literally tomorrow. So if you've got one, you've got a novel ready, novella, whatever it is, get onto screencraft.org now and go have a look. Link to that is in the show notes. Huge shout outs this week to some amazing people. But first of all, to Mitch Tolliday, because his feature film, which is called Murder Ballads, I have come on board to help Mitchell because Mitchell got in touch. He'd been listening to the podcast and he said, hey, any chance of a shout out? Can you have a look at Murder Ballads? What do you think? I had a look. I loved it. The script was brilliant. The team were amazing. And I said, well, why don't I help you out a bit further? So I'll come on board. I've come on board to help the amazing team behind Murder Ballads. It's on Greenlit now. They are trying to raise £10,000 for their budget to make this feature film. Moment they're nearly at £4,000 and they've only been going just under a week. They've got another 3 weeks to go, so please go support if you can. Link to Murder Ballads is in the show notes. It's an independent feature set in the rock and roll world of rock and roll. It's a dark comedy of 6 interconnected stories that chart the rapid rise and violent fall of a dysfunctional rock band called Stack of Corpses, who are willing to do anything for success. Now, if that doesn't get your attention, nothing will. That is ace. That is ace. So go to Murder Ballads on Greenlit and check it out. Please do. Mitchell Tolliday, Neil Rickatson, and the whole team are amazing. So shout outs this week go to Simon, at MovieFan99 on Twitter, Mark Coleman, at Simon on Film, Jed Bryan, legend, The Video Jungle, Nathan Root, and Bad Movie Night. Thank you, everyone. Okay, let's get to it. This is our episode with the amazing Caroline Goodall, myself, Giles Alderson, and Robbie McCain. Enjoy. Thank you so much. You're all legends. And we will see you Friday for the special Claes Bang episode. And then we'll see you on Tuesday for the Dare special podcast, because the Dare will be released into the UK. Enjoy, everyone. Enjoy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Sometimes it all goes wrong, but first time, it's great.
Oh, fantastic. I am in Croatia. I apologise, but I then just moved on to a different router, so hopefully it's okay.
Oh, fine. What are you doing in Croatia?
I am, well, you know how we're all trying to go back to work, but the only work that I've been doing obviously is pickups now. We're all starting as of sort of August, September. Movies that were put on hold because of COVID are starting to kind of come back together again. So I've been in Hungary and I shot the 2 days I needed to do on a film called Birds of Paradise, directed by Adina Smith, Sarah Adina Smith, with Kristen Froseth and Diana Silvers, and they're wonderful, and it's all about ballet dancers. So that was Budapest, and then I had 5 days off, and now I've come down to Dubrovnik, to Croatia, to do 5 days on a movie called The Islander, which kind of cool. It's sort of sci-fi, apocalyptic, steampunk, end of the world stuff, where I play a kind of mystery baroness who actually is the admiral of the navy, and the whole of the world has sunk and there's only little islands left, and whoever of course runs the biggest island is, you know, the guy, and so I help run the biggest island, but you don't know if I'm a goodie or a baddie. And of course Croatia is the perfect place to shoot it because it's fantastic. The water is amazing and there's islands everywhere, and it's kind of nice. So you come back, the protocols are crazy, and you come back and you kind of quarantine and self-isolate for a week with no hardship, I have to say. That.
It's not too bad, is it, right? You can read a book, watch a bit of telly for a while. It's not like you're in a prison, is it? It's like, well, all right, I'll...
I won't show you the view out that window because you're going to hate me. But it's about 28, 30 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I can see a little view over your left shoulder there.
Yeah, that's the town. That's just sort of...
Oh, that's just the beautiful town with the river and stuff.
You know, I can show you. I was hoping we could sit on the terrace, actually, but I'm not sure if the Wi-Fi is going to go that far. But no, I won't crow, but I am enjoying it. And then I'm going to start work next Wednesday.
How wonderful the fact that you can go straight back to work, go straight from, you know, Budapest to there. I love the fact that the world is starting again now in terms of the film world a little bit. It's kind of moving, and that's good. It can only be good for filmmaking, right?
Oh, God, yes. I mean, it's just terrible. The main issue is anything that had started shooting and still has some form of insurance is able to keep going because COVID, of course, wasn't in the insurance policies. Anything that has to start now, COVID, obviously, any communicable disease actually is no longer in the policy. And so it's very, very difficult for investors, for filmmakers. The actors, of course, are the most vulnerable because we can't wear PPE. So we get tested daily. I've just got so used to being tested. You know, I have to say, I don't know many films that haven't got a problem. I mean, we just know Batman's just happened, but we had The Matrix. It happened. That was the COVID thing. Then I think there was something else in the UK. There was even a little minor scare in the Amazon movie I did as well. So, yeah, we're all just having to suck it up and just be really, really good.
Yeah, and why not? And I think if only it'll stay that way as long as people don't abuse it and sort of go, well, I'm just going to go out anyway, and then you don't see people get it because people are doing wrong. But if you're all good and you're staying in your bubbles and you're doing the job of being an actor or being a producer or a director, then I think it can be safe. It can work. We can do this, and we can keep going, which I think is important. I think what's really interesting for me as well to chat to you is not only did we meet that wonderful time after Anna and the Apocalypse screening and have a lovely drink in the pub, which was fantastic, is the fact that you've worked for so long on so many amazing films and TV. And interestingly, recently you've done Hitman's Wife, Bodyguard, and Hunter Killer, both at the Bulgarian studio where I shot my movie The Dare.
Oh, yeah.
And you were there, which is really weird, pretty much at the same time as me. And I think that's like on and off between those times. It's like, how funny that we didn't cross paths when we were there. But how great that you shooting over in Bulgaria is amazing. Shooting at the studio there, it must have just been, and on those films as well, such fun.
Yeah, I mean, they always are. I mean, I think the interesting thing is now, of course, having written and produced a film like you see, you're a bit of a slashy. So you know how it is to put lots of different hats on.
Mm-hmm.
People have asked me, they said, oh, well, now it's difficult, isn't it? Because, you're writing, you're producing and writing, and you're not just acting, and acting's so much easier. And in a funny way, I don't know if it is. I actually think acting is one of the hardest things in the world. Because you are having to dig down all the time. You've got to be so ready and so on it at every moment. Because that otherwise you're holding a whole bunch of people up. And this time is money. And I think you're not being yourself. And I have to say, the one thing I really enjoyed about being a producer on Bay was I could just be me. And apart from that, I could also take my own time. So I didn't always have to come in at the crack of dawn. Kind of nice.
Yeah.
And I really found that quite liberating, I have to say. I really did. But at the same time, I'm just so loving. I didn't stop in front of the camera. I kept going because I had commitments. And, certainly when you're moving into post, as a producer, you do have some time on your hand. You're waiting for edits to come through and you can do things remotely. So in order, to keep, roof over everyone's head, I did actually continue working, which was nice. Yes, I keep saying, no, I still have the day job.
Yes. Yeah.
What's the day job? I said, it's the acting.
It's not too bad of a day job, really.
It's not too bad, is it? And but it is difficult. You are right. It is difficult. And when you're wearing all those hats, it can be really difficult. And the fact that you starred, produced and wrote Bay of Silence is it's great. It's wonderful. The fact that you got it made, the fact that you were part of that team. And as far as I can see, and please tell me if I'm wrong, is that's your first main producing credit as well. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it's my first sort of feature writing credit too.
Impressive.
And as I said, it's like literally from pen to paper to point of sale. And, of course, there's so many people who you meet along the way, along the journey, and who who take the leap of faith with you. So it is an incredible team effort. But I don't think I realized when I started that, my name I was signing. It came back to me. And so because if you're the one who's ultimately signing everything and it's your company and it's you package it and raise the money and all the rest of it, you're then employing people. So then, of course, when something goes wrong or something hits the fan and they go, so what do you think? And you go, well, didn't I employ you so that you were going to be able to figure that out? And at the end, you realize that the buck does stop with you. And I think I had to really try and grow into that. I kept looking over my shoulder, wondering, oh, there's no one there.
There's no one there to talk to or say, listen, I'm going to be in my trailer, okay? And you're like, you haven't got a trailer. You know what I mean? You're the producer.
No. I was just saying to someone, it was so funny because Paula, a wonderful director, did ask me to play a part. I didn't intend to. I'd originally written the role of Claes Bang's boss for a man because I felt he needed a friend who he could confide in, but who was also slightly different to him, perhaps more of a kind of player. But she felt quite rightly that we needed more women in the movie and more sort of authoritative women. So I ended up saying, who wouldn't want to work with Claes Bang and do a few scenes with him? But I remember the second AD said to me, so you'll pick up tomorrow. And I said, sorry? And he said, yes, the car. I was like, oh my God, someone's actually sending a car for me.
That's amazing. When normally you get there yourself, right?
I'm the producer. I just make my own way. Make my own way. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I was getting a taxi, which was very nice. But which, of course, always is actually just about making sure that the stupid actor turns up on time. That's the only reason, really.
But and the way you control that, like you say, is you pick them up. They're definitely turning up then if the taxi's outside the house, beeping the horn, banging on the door. They're going to eventually open that and go, all right, I'm coming. Let's talk about why you wanted to do this, because we all know writing and producing anything is very difficult and very hard to get something off the ground. And the fact that you are a very well-established actress and a very brilliant actress will have helped. But at the same time, it's still not that easy at all. Doesn't matter how established you are to write and produce something. So why did you want to do this, and why this idea, The Bay of Silence, which is terrific, by the way, absolutely terrific film, really well written, brilliantly performed across the board, really great. Why this project? Do you want to talk to us filmmakers out there? Why screenwriting?
Yeah. Probably because I'm a glutton for punishment, and because I think I'm really stubborn. I don't like no for an answer. I also, I went to Bristol University. I did English and drama at a time when we weren't really expected to be actors. We meant to turn up and, sort of be arts administrators or directors or indeed writers. And, Jeremy Brock and Greg Duran, who runs the RSC, and Simon Curtis. So, we're all kind of my contemporaries. But I ended up acting. I'd actually already... in those days, we needed equity cards in order to be able to work. And I had actually done I'd left school and I'd spent my summer holidays making a BBC television series. So I actually had that provisional equity card in my hand, and I'd had a kind of little taste of what it was like to be a professional actor. And then I went to uni to do my 3 years. But that kind of meant that I could keep working while I was at university. And I was totally obsessed. I totally wanted to be an actor. It's the most, it was for me everything, because acting is about words, and writing is about words. But which way you approach telling the story, it's two sides of the same coin. So I had always written, but I think I probably felt more comfortable and more confident interpreting other people's words, because I do think it takes quite a lot of chutzpah, really, to say, I want people to sit up and listen to something that I have to say. And I also think that adapting something from someone else's work also then can slightly put you at one remove, and that's sort of what I started doing. And by the time I came to The Bay of Silence, it had been percolating for quite some time, and I had written some other scripts. And I'd even, I'd even been paid to write them, and it was always something that was there, but the acting side just had more traction because I was so lucky in that after, 10 years of doing theatre in the United Kingdom and being at the RSC and the National and, thinking, that I was basically a theatre actress, I found myself in Hollywood and I got hooked. And so the whole world of film opened up to me, but opened up to me in an extraordinary way. I'd been used to doing a BBC series where, everything was locked off. You had the master and then you've got and, it's all a bit static and, generally you might be period and have a hat. And, here I was with the master, genius of, he used to say motion picture, because the picture's moving. I just watched him move that camera and tell the story, and I realized that the camera tells the story by moving just as much as the actors tell the story in their movements. And when you get the two together, that's when you create the amazing alchemy. And that's what Steven Spielberg's genius is, because out of that he can make you cry and you don't even know why. Because it's something he's doing, because he's pushing that camera really, really slowly into someone's face and you don't even know it's happened until suddenly you're there. And to have, oh my God, over 6 months at Sony Studios watching that. I'd go down every day. I was such a fan. I'd hang out. I'd show people around set. There were, obviously weeks when I had nothing to do because, I kind of topped and tailed the story, but, there was no way that I wasn't going to be involved and, watching and being a part of it. So that was my film masterclass, and it blew me away. And I was very lucky in that I was able to continue working with extraordinary directors such as Ridley Scott and Barry Levinson and on and on. And I felt completely blessed. And every time I worked felt like another masterclass for me. And so it just inspired me. I just thought, I don't know if I've got the guts to direct, because also at the same time, of course, we are in a world where it's very male dominated. But I did think, well, maybe there's a chance for me to write something, and maybe I'll be able to, in some small way, see it happen. And simultaneously, I was back in the UK working, and I was doing a lot of telly, and then I would be in Australia, I'd do something, and then there was runaway production. So we're all just working all over the place. And I was doing, tiny little budget movies to big budget movies, and just enjoying being a part of it. I mean, I think I'm a bit of I've never had an ego or a sense that I had to be somewhere or arrive somewhere or be a person. It was just, is the script good? Is it someone I want to work with? Yes, I'd be absolutely delighted to come and do it. And I remember Maggie Smith saying that to me. I was like, oh, just darling, just work. Just work.
Just work, darling. Yeah.
Just work, darling. And she's so right. And I kind of always had this sense that at some point when my kids might be a bit grown up and I'd learned a bit more about the business, that I might be able to just have a stab at, maybe making my own movie.
I love that. If you don't mind me asking you, the difference between someone like Spielberg and Ridley Scott and Levinson, can you put it into words how the difference takes on directing? They direct actors. Is there anything for our filmmakers can learn from how they work with actors and their genius?
Well, let's turn it around and say, what do they have in common?
Great.
And what they have in common, I think, is curiosity, empathy, and communication. And of course, they're geniuses. They're really good. I think Steven Spielberg has the extraordinary ability to compartmentalize, in that he is a producer, he is a writer, he is a director. And I remember very, very clearly on Schindler's List, he was flying every weekend to
go and do Jurassic Park, or
to Paris to edit Jurassic Park. And I mean, I'm not sure how you keep that all in your brain, but that was also the deal that he made with Universal, with Sid Sheinberg, which is, you need to finish this and it has to come out at this point. And yes, I will let you make your passion project. If you must do it in black and white, okay. And all of that. So, but I think it's more what they have in common. They're extraordinary. They're able to tell stories. Now, of course, they will have different ways of shooting and different visions of what it is that it tells the story. And I do think that every filmmaker does have his own particular stamp the way they shoot. Because inevitably, just like a writer or just like a great actor, you're bringing all of you to it. And my husband works a lot with Terry Gilliam, and, Terry and Nicola have a very, very close working relationship, and how they like to tell stories visually. So from that point of view, I think these artists are also completely different, but that's also the beauty of it.
I think that's fascinating. Thank you so much for the insight on that. And I totally agree. The influences we take as filmmakers from all these filmmakers over the years, and the fact that Spielberg could do those two, some people argue the best films of all time at the same time is incredible. But I think what I find interesting with you is all those filmmakers you've worked with, the influence you must have had over that time. So when you came to write The Bay of Silence, well, you've read some of the best scripts in the world, you've been in some of the best films in the world. And suddenly now you're going, okay, well, I can put some of that influence into my writing. How did you approach it? Because it was a novel originally. How did you manage to approach it?
I'm not sure. I wish to God, Steve Zalian had been, or Jim Hart had been over my shoulder.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, I think in a way, Gosh,
But then it would have been a Steve Zalian movie and not a Caroline Goodall movie. So
his movies can run to 200 pages. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think I think it's like anything. There's instincts about what you hope might work, but you never really know until it's on its legs and it's there. And I think the irony about film is, a play you can kind of workshop and you can go back and forwards because, but with film, yes, you can do a read through. Of course, we had a read through, but you don't really know. It's you write the film the first time on your own as a screenwriter's version, and then there's the version which goes into production, which inevitably is going to have the input of the director and of the lead cast, because there's been rehearsals and you're sitting there and you're doing rewrites and you're going, yeah, you're totally right. Oh God, no, that bit doesn't add up, does it? No, oh God, or you need more here or you need more there. And then of course it's rewritten in production because sometimes you're not getting what you need and you don't have a budget that's, endless, and you just have to go for what you can get. And then of course, then you're in the edit and it's written again a third time. So it's always a team effort. And I always see a screenplay as a roadmap for much smarter people, basically, to hack a path off that road and go round, if necessary. I think because of my American experience, where American actors just love to improvise, and American directors don't care. I mean, also, I work with Robin Williams, so the only reason I got the job was because I could improvise, that was kind of like the important thing. And I've done a certain amount of stand-up, which no one really knows.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That would have helped with Robin then in that situation. You must have been like, right, how do I get a word in? I know, I'll use my comedy chops. And that must have been interesting.
Well, in fact, it was the other way around. It was funny. And at one point I said, this was just during our audition, which was kind of so delicious and fun. It was just him and me and Stephen with a video camera in those days. Wow. I said at one point, you're not saying anything. And he looked at me and he chuckled and he said, but I've got the job.
That's amazing. I don't need to. It's up to you, love.
It was just like so cool, and at the same time just leaving me to hang out and dry.
Wow, I love that. That's really funny. To talk about how you wrote it then. So did you break it down into chapters? Did you put notes along the wall? How did you actually sit and do this?
I don't know. How do you do it? I think we all do it different ways. I think
yes.
The book itself is actually written from 2 points of view. And I did toy with that. I originally thought, this could be a really good sort of TV movie or kind of like a series. And we could have it from both points of view and you would see. But ironically, as I was doing it, that wasn't so in at the time. It then, of course, now is completely in. I just saw the luminaries. I was like, oh God, multi-character is so in right now. I mean, have you read Linda Aronson's 20th Century Screenplay yet?
No, that looks good.
It's so good. It's all about multi-character, whereas prior to this, of course, it had to be the hero's journey and it had to be linear and we had to have the conflict, and you're looking at Sid Field and every 10 minutes you have to have, and you're, breaking down Chinatown as the best script that's ever been done. And you say, well, where's my point of no return and where am I? And, because screenplays are structure. So I fiddled around for quite a long time, actually, just in a way using the book because I found it so compelling, saying, how do I tell this story that is really about a man faced with two impossible choices, and all drama is conflict. And, I love psychological thrillers. I also really wanted to make a British film. And this is a British book, even though her name is Lisa Saint-Aubin de Turin.
Yeah, amazing name.
And her father was Jan Carew, who's a Guyainan writer. So she's had such a colourful life herself, and she now lives in Mozambique. But at the time she was living in Italy, actually, and I kind of tracked her down and I said, I want to talk to you about this book. And she said, oh, God, everyone is trying to do my books and no one seems able to, because Mike Radford was trying to do Slow Train to Milan and someone else was trying to do Keep to the House. And she said, I'm just so fed up with this. And we kind of became friends. And I said, well, if you'd just be kind enough, I don't have any money really to option it, but just let me know what I can do. And so she was very generous, and she gave me an option for, a peppercorn amount that allowed me to just keep going on it. Because what happens to a lot of writer producers is that they get to a point where they've got a 3-year option and it's running out, and they've spent money and it's gone nowhere, and they've been shopping it around, and they just have to relinquish it and let it go. And then that book then is re-optioned to somebody else, and they go there. But so many books have gone that way. I've met people who, Perfume, I think, was possibly the classic.
The unfilmable movie.
The unfilmable movie, the final film. But I all sorts of people, including Dustin Hoffman, were attached to that at one point. He wanted to direct it. So from that point of view, I was really lucky in that I was able to pick it up and put it down. And as time went by, I felt more and more that this should be a mystery thriller. And through one person's point of view, and it was a man. And I certainly had no problems then, and I certainly still don't now, with a woman writing, into a man's head, and vice versa.
Really?
Men have always done it for us.
100%. Yeah.
And but also, I think in looking back at it now, as it's come out when it has, what I'm really pleased by is the response from men I talk to, because they're part of this equation. Men are victims as well. Sexual abuse, death of children, madness, not knowing your partner, all those things happen to men as well. And I think Claes's performance of, this ordinary man thrown into extraordinary circumstances, which is, kind of classic trope, but he plays it so well, and he's so vulnerable, and you really just relate to him. And when you get to that central moment, which was really, I think, the image that stayed with me and made me sort of start writing. You asked me where you start, and I actually did start in the middle, in medias res. I started in the middle and worked out that central moment, that fundamental turning point where he gets down to the beach and he sees the twins, and you've got this old-fashioned pram that we never really explain, which I love. It's just there. Yep. And it feels a bit Rosemary's Baby, and it's just a fantastic kind of trope. And that image just stayed with me, and these twins sort of fighting, and what's inside, and this image of this man moving towards it, and the mystery that and you kind of want to kind of reach in to the screen and say, don't touch, go away, don't look. And, I don't know, I found that just really inspiring, and I thought, okay, we've got to kind of make this work. And then increasingly, because it got linear, I just felt we have to see it through his eyes. If you look at Don't Look Now, which was and The Vanishing
rogue film,
Don't Look Now and The Vanishing were real inspirations to me, because you are discovering at the same time as the protagonist what is going on. And actually, I did look again, and there are a few moments in Don't Look Now where actually you're not with Donald Sutherland, you're actually with her. But there's not very many. And you generally, if you think back on that film, you think, whose eyes am I looking through? And it's Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, it's his point of view, yeah.
Yeah, and so in the same way, that kind of classic throwback 70s sort of feel. I really hope that we'll be able to find that. And I take my hat off to Guido van Gennep, who shot it, and he looked at a lot of, Nick Rogue, bad timing, and also cinematically was doing some very interesting things where, you'd have a lot of, dark in one side of the screen, and then the close-up of the person would be sort of there. And we used anamorphic lenses, and we were very kind of careful about the three worlds that we're inhabiting, the kind of the light and the sun of the Italian world, which is sort of magical and love and about potential, even though we know by the time we get to the end that there's a sting there. And then we have London that starts off really very upbeat and kind of fun.
Yeah, the house is great. All that stuff's really upbeat. Yeah,
cultural kind of party, and it's all, they're kind of so bohemian. And then we get down the rabbit hole when we get to Normandy, France, and it becomes very Gothic and almost sort of, desaturated. And this extraordinary Gothic house on the cliff that we found, that was actually in St. Abbs in Scotland.
Wow.
We went north. We went to the borders of, the Scottish borders and Newcastle up there to shoot, partly because I promised, from having been on the board of the Newcastle Film Festival, that if I did make the movie, I would go north, and I kept my promise. But also, we knew that we'd probably find a little isolated village, and we found this amazing village. It's like a little, just a little row of houses, like a little ribbon of houses, right crouching on the coast, in this really kind of weird black rock, seaweed-filled kind of place. And then St. Abbs has this house that's right on the cliff, and they let us obviously rework it a bit with the art department. So it had that kind of Gothic feel with gables, and it may not be terribly French, but there's something just so wonderfully psycho about it. At that point, of course, you are going into a completely different world, and you're asking the audience to follow you there, to follow Will into that world, into that strange place where he doesn't speak the language and unspeakable things are about to happen. And he's going to find that his wife, is in an attic, locked out of her mind, in one of those completely melodramatic Gothic ways, like, your classic Gothic stories, Edgar Allan Poe's time. So, there's all those kind of references and all those things that are mixed in, which, are layered in, that you probably don't notice immediately. And then later on, if you go back, like I definitely have to go back to Tenet. So Chris
for sure, everyone does. Yeah.
Maybe if you want to go back to Bay of Silence, you might see some other things in there as well.
Totally true.
It's fantastic to hear you discussing all these kind of cinematic and literary antecedents of a film of this genre, because and I was thinking exactly the same thing. It's almost like a Clouseau film, like Diabolique, or like a sort of classic Hitchcock kind of thriller. Like, it's got all those sort of layers in. It's definitely, you're in that sort of vibe and tone with a film like this. So it's just such a nice. It's sort of familiar, but also sort of sinister in a way.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's the idea, is that, it's sort of familiar territory, but you kind of go with it and you're kind of happy. It's like, oh, good, it's a movie like that. And we're not messing with you particularly. Yes, it's got a lot of twists and turns, and, yes, there is a sort of reveal or two. But, I mean, when I get a little annoyed actually at the moment with that there's a sort of seems to be a trend where they're so messing with the audience head in terms of multi-character, in terms of unreliable narrators. And it's nothing worse than spending,
it's frustrating.
Or even now it can be a whole television series.
Totally, 10 hours of your life gone.
Yes, and then you realise that you're actually being...
hoodwinked.
The rug's been pulled. You've been hoodwinked.
Yeah, cheated.
So I didn't sort of want that to happen. I hope that, people discovered what they discovered at the same time as he does, as well.
Now, you've created something, and it's amazing that this is your first, feature that's got made in terms of a writer. But it's a very professional, very well written. It's
very
just
well
delightful.
oiled machine.
It's very well oiled, absolutely. Was there a point, because you're a producer as well, and this is the problem when we're writer, producer, star, director, whatever it is we find it very difficult to know when to stop. As in, I'll just do another draft. I'll tweak that. So when did your producer head come on and go, yeah, do you know what? That script's fine now, and let's get on with making it?
I think around 2000 seems always so long ago now, isn't it? About 2013, 14.
Oh wow, that is a long time.
God, we started shooting 2018. Look, I kept writing all the way through.
Of course.
Ever since I saw Kathy Kennedy wafting onto the set of Hook.
Wafting.
Yeah, she's amazing. Was gliding, really, in her perfect suit.
Floating.
Always so calm. I always just, was just so impressed by women producers and thought that could be kind of cool. I want to learn this. And so I did the Producers Forum in Cannes, and I realized that what you needed to do is put your head down, keep very below the radar. That was my kind of MO, really, and just work really hard and just march up and down, try and find a sales agent. I remember literally banging on doors at Lowe's in Santa Monica, and I came across a sales agent who was, happy to talk to me. They didn't actually take on the film, but introduced me to Peter Gard, who is one of the greats who founded Zentropa, who I then met in Berlin. I mean, it just all goes like that. And
just keeps rolling on. Yes, once you do the work, yes.
And I realised that business plans and finance plans are what it's about. And I also, because I had been on so many movie sets and worked in so many countries and had obviously talked to people, I realised that things were financed in very different ways wherever you are. And in the UK, we have a particular way of financing, and in the US, there's an equity-led way of financing. Europe is very much driven by grant funding. And I thought, if I can do a hybrid version of this, then maybe I've got a chance, because I call it preferred customers. I'm not a preferred customer of anyone. Okay. I'm the wrong age. I'm probably the wrong sex. I'm probably the wrong everything. I don't tick any boxes. And I knew that I was not going to get that coveted broadcast tick of approval, which you need to get in the UK from the BBC or Channel 4 or whoever, or the big distributor, even if I had value talent on board. Because that's the most important thing, of course, as well, is to have talent that, they can then look at the sales figures and say, well, yes, we think the estimates are going to be this, and so you can therefore get pre-sales. So I just realized that I had to do sort of boots up and learn it, and actually I found it really kind of fun.
And that's good.
I think the turning point came for me was, I don't know, I was in some sales suite probably in one of the markets, and someone said, so what's the film about? And
yeah.
So bored.
Yeah, 100 pitches that day. Bored. Yeah. And
here's another film. And I said, so the finance plan is 30% pre-sales. We've already pre-sold to airlines, and we've already got pre-sales. And I started talking the finance plan. And I said, I've got X amount of equity, and I just need that little piece there. And of course, then there's the tax credit and the soft money, and I've got some soft money out there. And suddenly you saw them just get closer and closer because you were talking their language.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was the thing I realized, is they are financiers. There's only 3 plots.
Yes.
So, I've seen what they want is the magic bullet. Is Liam Neeson in it?
Yes, exactly.
So if it's not Liam Neeson, who have you got that's got some value for us? And I have to say, I mean, because we're doing a filmmakers podcast here. What I love is when you talk to people and they say, oh, wow, and I was talking to Lionsgate and they said, if I can get so-and-so, and if I can get so-and-so, then they're going to give me all the money.
Yeah, well, you think if you get so-and-so, you're going to get all the money anyway, from wherever, right?
Exactly. I said, well, yeah, but then you might as well just go to Universal.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you might as well just go to the top. So and it's that thing, they lead us along and we're naive. And then, of course, the next thing is that you're signing your life away.
Mm-hmm.
And, hello. Oh, excuse me. I've actually got a doctor who's going to do a COVID test for me.
Oh, can we do this live? This would be
yeah,
let's do it. It'd be amazing.
I'll just let you know.
This is a first on the Focus Podcast, a COVID test for her film, Caroline's film, live.
Caroline wasn't joking when she said she gets tested daily for COVID.
Oh, have to come outside? Yes, of course. Okay, hold on a second. I'm terribly sorry. You're not going to see this because I have to go outside to do it because, of course, we're social distancing, but it'll be 3 seconds.
Perfect. No problem. I love that. We'll get her to describe what it's like when she comes back from her COVID test live. Oh, filmmaking. Right there.
Oh, that one was nose.
What happened? What did they actually do?
I've had so many now. This one was just up my nose.
Oh, what, all the way up?
That sounds quite unpleasant.
Yeah.
What was it they put up? A swab, or did they put a?
Yeah, it's just like a very long Q-tip.
Oh.
Yeah, but I've had in Italy they go down the throat and they do each nostril. Last week in London it was down the throat and each nostril. In Hungary it was just throat swabs.
Right.
Any other country? No, that's it so far. And this is Croatia.
Oh, it's down the throat bit that does me. I'd have to do nose down the throat. I couldn't do directly down the throat. I'd just be gagging. That'd just be horrible.
I don't have a problem with down the throat, but
wow, I'd struggle.
And some of them are really good at it. And Feather, I wouldn't say he's a Feather.
This guy shoving a Q-tip up your nose was not the best. Failed.
This is our lives now,
Yeah.
Kind of crazy, isn't it? Just to be able to work.
You mentioned there, and you're saying the investors, and when you were talking to them about cast, and when you were in Cannes, and you were all these places you go and you're pitching. During any of these points, had you brought cast on board? Had you gone there first before you got money in place?
Look, it's always chicken and egg, and you know this yourself as being a filmmaker.
Is that the bells out the window?
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds like church bells.
Yes, it is. They go off quite a lot. It's very Catholic here.
Oh, wow. Anyway, sorry, cast. Yes. Was anyone involved early on?
Yes, in that Brian. Brian was always there for me.
Brian Cox. Yeah,
Brian, Brian, I just can't thank him enough. He has my heart. He and I met in 1985. We're going back a very long time.
Wow.
At the Royal Shakespeare Company. And he played my dad, Tarleton, in a Bernard Shaw play called Misalliance. And I was Hypatia in a ridiculous wig. And we spent 6 months together at RSC and became great friends. And his kids know his kids are older than my kids, but we always seemed to be in step. So when he moved to Hollywood, I was there. And at one point, he even rented my house. At one point, I rented his house. We just families, my sister, everybody, we just are like family. And Brian said, sure, in that way that all us actors do, because we don't like to let anybody down. Sure. When you get it going, I'll be there for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, he was, because it's very easy at that point to say, well, I'm terribly sorry, I'm awfully busy and good luck. But he really was there for me, and I am just so grateful. And he's brilliant, because I needed someone like Brian for that role, because and it's the same with Claes and Olga. I needed archetypes. I mean, Claes is like Jimmy Stewart. Olga is a Rosalind Russell.
She's amazing, isn't she?
Brian also, he is, he's just all of those amazing, actors
rolled into one. He's just a firecracker, isn't he?
Brian is also, he's like a secret weapon, because other actors always want to work with Brian as well.
Yeah, and that must have helped massively, going into rooms, pitching, having him attached. I
think, that certainly helped. I have to say, they always want huge movie stars. And, Brian now, because, of course, of Succession and the Emmy and Golden Globes and all the rest of it. They're saying, but he's a third lead. Who's the first and second lead? We also, we can't sell a film, he's brilliant, but we can't sell that film on the third lead. He's not in it enough.
Yes.
But what he does is he also, of course, gives such gravitas to the project and certainty to it. And, of course, he is a great actor magnet. So when I told Olga that he was involved and Claes, they were just like, oh, yeah, okay, thank you, we're in. And Brilliant. Then, of course, the important thing is that they have to like the script, and then there has to be time in their schedule to be able to fit it all in and to be able to do it.
Yes.
And the director as well. So,
I mean, it's what you've done, and so many filmmakers out there who haven't done this yet, or those who have. It's a really amazing achievement to do this, to pull together a feature film with amazing talent and it to be fantastic and a brilliant film. It's a really, really huge achievement. You should be very proud. I'm proud of you. I think it's just wonderful, really wonderful.
I've joined your club now.
Yes, you are. You're part of the podcast team now, the filmmaker podcast.
Now you have to direct the next one, Caroline. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I'd love to, but I'm not going to. I've always had a problem with people who think that they deserve anything, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
They deserve a career because they studied something. They deserve this or that. I don't think anyone deserves anything. I do believe you need your 10,000 hours and more. Not that you can't give people a leg up or hope that someone's going to help you. I do believe that we need to be as inclusive as possible and to help each other as much as possible. And this isn't an industry that necessarily does that. This is an industry that really kind of is rather thrilled when people fail. It's like, oh, good, then there's room for me now. I can try, because it's so competitive. And I think increasingly, because it's less of a mystery now. When I was starting, the whole idea of making movies was such a mystery. Even acting in front of a camera was a mystery. There were techniques that you kind of had to learn. Now everybody is just raised with a phone and putting themselves on tape, on camera. Mm-hmm. There's very few people who haven't been raised with a camera in front of them. And as a result, you've got fantastic actors, I think, and fantastic filmmakers out of that, because the mystery's disappeared.
Yes.
But I think there's also a sense of there's just more people who want to do it because of the fact that the gates are wider open. There's not a union issue. Mm-hmm. The only real issue is financial. But now, we can, if we get the right people together, we can do it pretty cheaply. Doesn't mean it looks that good, though.
No, you're right. But you can do it. And I love what you said there about putting the 10,000 hours in. It's so true. People do expect things to fall in their lap and they get disappointed. But I'm like, well, what are you doing about it? Yeah. You've got to do the work, and I bang on about it on this podcast all the time, but it's so true. But if you work hard, things will happen for you. You've just got to keep grinding it out. You do have to. It's so difficult, this business. But if you're there and you're doing the work, eventually things will start to go. And if you've got a modicum of talent, hopefully a really big amount of talent, then things will move for you properly.
I think that's true. I also think that, we never quite know what a chance meeting or a follow-up will bring.
True.
I certainly found that when looking for my I've got 4 amazing investors, none of whom I knew, all of whom I might say are American.
Wow.
I banged on a lot of doors in the UK, and the only way you get investment in the UK, and I do have obviously a senior lender who have been fantastic. I have to say, MFC have been amazing and patient and creative, and David Gilbury is a producer as well as a financier, and I think they're just a fantastic outfit.
Amazing.
But generally in the UK, they want to be senior lenders, which is first out. And a hefty premium that is taken out of the budget.
Yes.
And they obviously don't want to be equity because equity takes longer, hopefully there will be a return. And the Americans, because they have a model which is more equity based, are more open to investing in film. So, but it really just all came out of chance meetings and business plans. I have one set of investors because I went to a charity event that I'm an ambassador for a small charity, and the guy who who owns the charity said he couldn't go, and he said, "Is there any chance that you can go down to Texas and do this for me? Because we generally raise most of our money for the year from Odessa, and would you go?" And I said, "Of course." But it was from that I then met these amazing people who love movies, and we got talking, and so when I finally sent out my business plan, my 52-page business plan,
Has to be, yeah.
I just thought, who am I writing? And I just sort of sent it out into the ether, email, and they came back and said, "Oh, great, can you send us the script? We really liked it." I was thinking, they're not going to like this script.
Yeah, they're just saying that. They're being nice, yeah.
Sandra came back and she said, "I love this." She said, "This is so up my alley." And I'm thinking,
wow.
Texas.
What? Texas? Is there any bit of advice you could give someone starting out or someone who is in the business now wanting to carry on that you've learned over your time? A nice nugget. I mean, obviously you've given so much to someone now from what you've learned.
Stay passionate, never say never, and don't give up, because there will always be someone, and it's happened to me, I'm sure it's happened to you, always someone who's going to say no, and you can't, and it's not possible, whether it's your parents who really want you to get a proper job.
Still.
Mum, Schindler's List, come on.
Come on, Mum, I was in Schindler's List.
You know what I mean? Or a partner, or just a teacher.
Yeah.
Who knows? There's always going to be someone along the line who is just going to dig and make you feel bad. And you're going to maybe spend a lot of time trying to get that little voice out of your head, telling yourself that what you think you can do, you can do. And the other thing I would say is just any opportunity that happens to come your way, just don't ever say no. I mean, I had no clue I was going to land up in Hollywood. It was the last thing I thought I was going to do. I wanted to be a dame of the British stage. And sadly, I'm not. And I found myself, because I actually went for all sorts of other reasons. I was actually following my heart. And I thought, well, I'll go there for a couple of months, see how it works. And, if this relationship works out, which it didn't. But I really fell in love with Los Angeles. I found it a meritocracy. It's a free-for-all out there. Anyone can do anything and just go and do it. And the beauty now is that those gates are down. You can upload things to whatever you want to upload it to. You can get it out there. In COVID times, we now know that those windows have disappeared. Mm-hmm. That it's all streaming, and you can find an audience. You can data drive, so you know who your niche audience is. Mm-hmm. We're not just throwing something at a wall and hoping it sticks.
Yes.
It's a wild west. I don't know where we're going. I'm really happy that I've had the journey I've had, and I'm really, really grateful that, I started when I did, to be honest, and was able to be in, I would say, what they're now saying was the golden age of movie making, which was the 90s.
Yes.
When we didn't have much in the way of visual effects and things were done kind of properly and slowly. And maybe in the age of COVID, we now have to do everything slowly again.
Maybe we do. This has been amazing. The Bay of Silence is an incredible movie. It's out on the 28th of September. Do go watch it. It's so good. Listen, Caroline, thank you so much. You're an inspiration, huge inspiration.
Anyway, it's been really fun, and I'm sorry, and I hope you can edit this. And
of course we can.
No, of course we can, but still, some amazing stories. I loved it.
And let's very soon in a pub. We need it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's do it. We do need this. And remember, you can go out there and make your indie film. You can make it happen. And just as Caroline Goodall has done there, she's gone out there. Even though she's a well-established actress, she still had to grind and work hard and put in the hours. And now she's got the film The Bay of Silence, starring some amazing people, out now into the world. You can do the same. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it's your duty, Robbie,
to send the elevator back down, Giles. Send that elevator right to the ground.
Send it to Robbie. Send it right to Robbie. You can follow us at Filmmakers Pod. You can follow me at Giles Alderson.
You can follow me at Robbie McCain.
Thank you so much, Robbie, for joining us on this. Caroline Goodall, you are a star.
Thank you.
Take care. And remember our episode with the amazing Claes Bang, who does star in Bay of Silence, will be out on Friday. It'll be a bonus episode. It'll be nice and short, but he's a legend. So enjoy that on Friday. And remember, next Tuesday is our episode with a load of the Dare cast. I'm going to try and get as many as I can on, and we're all going to chat about how we made the movie The Dare, and I'm just going to promote the shit out of it because that's the kind of twat I am. But hey, hey, it's my podcast. I can do what I want. But anyway, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.